What is up, ladies and gentlemen, all my expeditioners out there? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're breaking down the top 5 weapons for Lune and Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Whether you're just starting out or pushing into late game content, picking the right gear and the right weapons for Lune can make a huge difference. I've tested a bunch of options and narrowed it down to 5 weapons that bring out the best in Lune, all her abilities, her stats. So let's jump straight into the list. I hope you all enjoy. So first weapon up on the list, we got Lighterman, man. I chose Lighterman because you can get this very early on in the game. It's probably the easiest weapon to get. You're not going to miss it. You kill an Abyss in the Spring Meadows and it drops 100% of the time, I'm pretty sure. Super easy to get. But not only is it easy, it scales with very good stats. So in the beginning of the game, when you put stats on Lune, defense is probably going to be a stat you use, or agility. Agility is also really good for Lune, just to get her to go first. So the way the weapon works, or weapons work in this game, is it scales with your stats. So if your stat in agility is higher, the weapon is going to scale higher with that stat. Same with defense, and you get agility. So not only is this weapon going to scale well with your stats, it also has very good level 4 powers, level 4 abilities, as well as a good element. Fire is a great element, especially when you want to pair it with Mael. Whenever you get Mael, we'll talk about that later. But the fire skill cost one less AP is huge, because most of your skills early on with Lune are going to be fire skills, and you're going to be casting a lot of fire skills. And if you don't know what AP is essentially the attack points that let you attack in a fight. So you're going to be able to have more attack points later on in the fight, be able to use less on fire, and pretty much just get damage out without spending more resources. Now, the level 10 ability, it's gonna take some time to get to level 10, but the 20% increased fire damage with skills is very useful. 20% damage is good. It's just straight raw damage that is gonna be on all fire damage. And fire, like I said, is gonna be used throughout the whole game, especially early game. And her level 20 start battle with 1 ice stain is also great, because a lot of her abilities, if you don't know, use stains and consume stains to do more damage. So having that 1 stain is going to be really good to start out with, especially on the fire side if you go like a fire build. This weapon really scales with any build you choose. Obviously there are better weapons, that's why it's only at level 5, but this is level 5 because of how easy it is to get, the scaling on the stats, and the damage it will do with fire combined with Mael and other people. Also, not only is this weapon found very early on, but so is the upgrades for this weapon. As you can see, players can encounter groups of enemies, Ballista, Abyss, Portier in the contents overworld map just near Springs Meadows exit, and this will also give you level ups for this weapon, as well as groups in the small version, which is really close by, really early on in the game. Easy weapon, not too overboard, something that's going to give you something off the rip. So number 4 on our list, we have Kraim or Kraim. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but this weapon is very good. You can get this pretty early. Not, it's not going to be at the very early stages of the game, but it's going to be like probably 20%, 30% through. The reason that this weapon is so good, because once again, it scales very well with the stats you're going to want. Scales with vitality as well as agility. And agility is what you're going to want on Lune. Once again, throughout the whole game, you want Lune to have high agility. You want her to go first. Whether you have a fire build, multiple stain build, whether you have a healing build, you want her to go first and as often as possible. Now, the level 4 of this Kraim gives you casting a skill, increases the skill damage of all other elements by 20%, resets when casting a skill of a previous element. This is very good on Lune, because she is never ever casting multiple skills in the same element back to back. So, for example, in the very early stages of the game, you're going to have Ice Lance and Immolation. Immolation is going to put a fire stain on your stain list, and that stain can then be consumed to do more damage for Ice Lance. So say you use the fire, it immediately makes 20% more damage go toward your other element, which is Ice Lance. Then on top of that, you increase the damage by consuming the fire stain and using Ice Lance, and it bumps it, I'd say, to around 50 or like 40% extra damage, which is actually insane if you think about it, especially when the power on this weapon is actually really good off the rip too. Now at level 10 on turn start, if no stains, 2 random stains are generated. Stains are the most important part of Lune's build. So when you have no stains, like the start of a round or start of a game, you're going to have 2 stains, which automatically is going to make your other abilities, or your abilities, do increased damage, or your heals do increased heals. Now, speaking about healing, there is a better healing weapon on this list, but this is not bad if you want to go a hybrid heal or damage build. Now, the level 20 version of this, or the level 20 perk of this weapon, 1 AP when stains are consumed, is absolutely insane, especially if you are doing a healing build. This is probably the second option for your healer build on Lune. The reason this is good for healing is because you're going to consume a lot of stains when healing, and you're also going to use a lot of AP when healing. Her healing abilities typically use from like 3 to 5 AP, which is genuinely a good amount of AP, especially if you want to do a hybrid build. So getting 1 AP per stain is insane, especially if you do revitalization, which heals your whole squad. I think it's about 5 AP, but if you use 3 stains, it gives you a regen. Probably one of the best heals in the game, if not the best heal in the game. But if you consume all 4 stains, you're pretty much losing 0 AP for using that ability. Now, this can be found, as you can see here, on the continent by defeating a group of enemies for the first time. Not that hard, not that far. I think you might need SKA, the swimming guy, to get here. I'm not 100% sure, but regardless, you can get this pretty early on in the game. Another thing I'd like to talk about is the element on this weapon. The element is lightning. Lightning goes a long way in this game because there are not a lot of enemies that are resistant to lightning. Lightning is probably one element that you see the most having a weakness to. I think the only thing that doesn't have weakness to lightning in this game are like rock enemies, or like enemies that look like rocks, which there isn't a lot of them. You probably get that. You probably see them in like midway through, maybe even before that, like 20% through the game. You'll see a lot of rock enemies. But even at that, lightning is just too good not to have. So Kraim is number 4 on the list. Make sure you pick it up sometime through your playthrough. It goes with multiple different builds, multiple different scenarios. Definitely pick it up. So the next weapon on our list is called Betilm. This is pretty much an upgraded version of the last weapon we just shown. Instead of doing damage based on the last element you used, this one now consumes stains and increases the damage by 20%. Now this 20% can stack up to 5 times, but it does reset on using a skill without consuming stains. This is really easy to maintain. Consuming stains is not hard at all. You have multiple abilities that not only consume stains, but generate multiple stains. And if you do level this weapon all the way up to 20, you are going to get 1 AP per stain consumed. So no matter what, you're going to have a way to generate stains. Now, the only advantage that I say this weapon has over the last is the fact that you can stack it up to 100% damage. And if you are going a full damage build on Lune, 100% damage is absolutely insane. The last weapon I'd say is a little bit tailored towards a hybrid build where you can heal, but this one is more tailored towards putting out as much damage as possible on Lune. Now, the only reason I don't have this higher on the list is because I enjoy healing on Lune. I love her heal abilities and the fact that she can put out so much heals and heal herself with different pictos and stuff. So the only reason this isn't higher on the list is because I favor healing over damage with Lune, especially when you have like Mael and Verso on your team. Now, before we get into the honorable mention and the last weapon on our list, in the number 2 slot, we have Snowm. Snowm is a great weapon for any defense, high health or healer builds out there. Now, this weapon has a very unique level 4 ability. It's unlike any other weapon in this game, and that's when you drop below 30% health on Lune, she will instantly freeze herself and prevent any damage in that turn. So say you get one hit by a boss, or a boss that should one hit you, and you drop below 30% health, you will instantly freeze, and any damage for that turn will be totally negated and you will survive. This is super important, especially on a healer build, because essentially as long as Lune is alive, your whole team is alive, especially if you're running a healer build. I only run this on a healer build or if I'm running, you know, full tank or full util build on Lune. This is not a damage weapon by any means, because there's no point in running this for damage when the next weapon exists. But this weapon can be got really early on, which is why it's super good. And again, it scales with vitality and it scales with agility, which is the main stat you're going to be using if you are using Lune in any type of utility build. I use Lune as strictly healer. I literally put 0 damage onto her. I put her, you know, build her full defense, full health, because you still can get a good effect of damage out of her even if she is in a healer build. But vitality and strength, or defense and agility, are just too good on her, and they scale super well with this weapon. Now, this weapon can be found in 2 different locations. One in the Frozen Hearts when you fight the Guardian boss, or the Flying Manor when you fight the Guardian boss. Now, not only is the level 4 ability absolutely insane, but the level 10 and 20 abilities are also very good, especially in these util or healer builds. So at level 10, on turn start, if you're frozen, remove freeze and recover 60% health. So it's pretty much like a revive. And on level 20, you gain 2 ice stains and 3 AP when frozen. So it's pretty much like a second life. You pretty much, you know, take damage, almost die, pop out, you're back to almost full health, and you have 2 ice stains and 3 AP, which if you use revitalization, you'll have an instant revitalization and get your whole team back up to pretty much full health. Especially if you run the right pictos on Lune, you can pretty much heal your team to full. This weapon is really good for any healer build or any type of, you know, defense build you want to run on Lune. So I highly recommend this as your healer build or your tank build. Now, for my honorable mention on this list, we got Benison, or I don't know how you say it, but I'll just say Benison. I used this weapon until I got Snowm. This weapon was phenomenal for me, especially because I ran a full support build on Lune. This was absolutely insane for me. I ran full vitality and full defense. Now, if you go look at any other builds or any other, you know, thing, they're gonna have Snowm. But I personally love Benison way more, especially on expert mode when you're playing on the hardest difficulty like I was in my first playthrough. This weapon is absolutely insane. In expert mode, you're going to take damage. The parry windows are smaller, the dodge windows are smaller. You're going to take damage. Take this from someone who just cleared it on expert mode. So your heals on Lune are going to be important. Also, this isn't that hard to get. You can get this as soon as you finish Act 2. All you got to do is go through the Forgotten Battlefield. And you're going to go through that battlefield no matter what. It's just a matter of finding the Gestural Merchant, Kasumi. He is going to be, once you enter, on the right side where you'll see a bunch of dead bodies. Now, the reason I love this weapon so much is because on expert mode, like I said, you're going to be taking a lot of damage. And right off the rip, at level 4, healing skills cost 1 less AP. And if you use healing skills, you know that some of the great ones use a lot of AP. So anything you can do to get that 1 AP gone is going to be great. There are a lot of pictos you can use. There are a lot of, you know, different luminas you can put on and builds you can put on to make the AP less. But this is just 1 less AP, raw 1 AP, which is awesome, especially at the first level you get it at. It's insane. Not to mention that it scales with vitality. Vitality is probably the one thing that I have maxed out on Lune, because you want her alive. You have to keep her alive. And if you don't use Snowm, the only way to fully make sure you keep her alive is stack that vitality. And not only does it stack vitality, you stack defense, and that scales A with defense. Probably the best 2 stats for Lune if you run a support build. If this was a list based on preference, this would be number 1 because I love this weapon so much. At level 10, you generate 1 Earth Stain at the beginning of each turn. Now, if you know about revitalization, I brought it up in the video earlier. Revitalization is probably one of the best healing skills in the game, if not the best, and it consumes any type of stain. Generating 1 stain at the beginning of each turn is great. Also, there is the revive skill where you revive people and you can keep your team alive without using revive tints. Not only does it revive them, it brings them back to 60% health if you can, you know, hit your times perfectly. Gain stains for free, it's a plus no matter what, whether it's a picto, whether it's on a weapon. Gaining stains for free is a plus on Lune no matter what. Now, her level 20 ability on this weapon is what makes this weapon so good. Replay instantly on consuming stains with a healing skill. If you're playing Lune, especially on expert mode, and you get to the later games, and I'm talking, you know, middle of Act 2, end of Act 2, even early Act 2, when you fight a boss that I won't give spoilers on, but there's a very hard boss in the very beginning of Act 2 that will give you a hard time. And being able to instantly replay after consuming stains on a healing skill is insane. So last but definitely not least on the list is Scavver. Scavver is probably the best weapon for Lune in the game. No matter what website, what YouTube video, whatever you watch or read, Scavver is going to be said to be the best weapon. The only reason this weapon might be a little bit, you know, looked down upon by people is because it is gotten later on in the game. It's probably like midway through Act 2, maybe right before midway out of Act 2. You get this right after you do the Forgotten Battlefield, and you have to fight a really difficult boss before you can get this weapon, but it's located in the Falling Leaves, and you do need SKA's swimming ability, which you would probably have already if you got to the Forgotten Battlefield, but you get this from the Scavenger boss. Now, the weapon itself scales with vitality and agility, which if you're going a full attack build, you probably won't have a lot into vitality, but agility is what you want. Obviously, scaling vitality isn't bad, but it's not the stat scaling you want this weapon for. And what's even crazier about this weapon is the perks you get at level 4, 10, and 20. At level 4, 50% chance to generate a dark stain when consuming stains. Deal 50% more damage with skills per active dark stain. Now, the reason that is so cracked is because dark stains can only be consumed by abilities that require to use 4 stains, like Mayhem and Elemental Genesis, and those are your nuking abilities. Now, imagine your nuking ability, but then you do 50% more damage with every active dark stain. But guess what? 200% increased damage when you are consuming those 4 dark stains on top of the damage that Mayhem and Elemental Genesis already do, which is actually nuts. These multiple hit weapons, everyone knows that your damage is capped at 9,999, but with multiple hits on a ability, you can surpass that. So when you have an ability that hits 4 times or twice, like Mayhem or Elemental Genesis, it can do past 9,999 damage with one ability. Now, if you have full stains, you're increasing your damage by 300%. But on top of that, level 4, you have 200%. So you're doing a 500% increased damage. And not only can this be done on abilities like Mayhem and Elemental Genesis, you can do it on abilities that are AoE. So you can become an AoE demon at the end or close to the end of the game, which is going to help you with getting XP, taking out enemies that, you know, are just a pain and you really don't want to fight, and just every situation in general. This weapon is absolutely insane, and I highly recommend that you pick it up. Just like every other weapon in this game, every weapon is missable and every weapon is obtainable, so make sure that you pick up these weapons, follow this guide. Well, my fellow expeditioners, that's it for our list of the top 5 weapons for Lune in Clair Obscur Expedition 33. These picks should give you a strong edge in combat, whether you're focused on the raw power of Lune or the utility side. If this guide has helped you out in any way, consider giving the video a like, subscribing, or hitting that notification bell so you don't miss any Expedition 33 content. I've got upcoming guides for the rest of the team, so stay tuned if you're looking to optimize your full squad. Let me know in the comments below what weapons you're using for Lune, or if you think something else should have made this list. Thank you for watching, and as always, tomorrow will come.